All right, fellas, let's get into this YouTube video. I've made it before, however, this is going to be much more detailed. It's also going to address the issues that I see come up over and over and over again. Most people want to lose fat. Most people want to be aesthetic. However, I see them doing powerlifting. I see them doing, flat bench press all the time, and they're trying to build their chest. I see them trying to get, their shoulders right, and they're doing like only standing military press, like heavy 4 sets of 2 or some shit like that. And the reality is, building an aesthetic physique as a man, there's more to it than just the certain exercises and the nutrition. Of course, like you have to change your mindset on the way you approach the gym. You can no longer focus on, oh, let me be the strongest guy in there. When you're the strongest guy in the gym and you're always doing flat bench press, you're going to impress other guys. Congratulations, right? You are not going to have the physique that guys look up to and women are attracted to. And you're not going to like what you see in the mirror because you might have a big ass stomach because mass moves mass. I know a lot of people in the gym, they're like 280 repping 315. Then they see me rep 315 at 185 if I'm doing, triceps or whatever, because that's the only time I hit flat benches for triceps. And they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, and they start getting mad and like envious and stuff. Anyways, I remember hitting 405 on bench and my chest looked like shit, right? I remember deadlifting, 650, 640, 630 consecutive weeks, and my back looked like shit. All right. It wasn't until I started prioritizing aesthetics over strength that I saw, the progress. Now, this video is not for you if you're lazy and unable to delay gratification, because obviously to build an aesthetic physique, it's not happening overnight. Now, I saw in the comment section someone said, like, yeah, man, it does take time to build a good physique, at least a year. And then someone was like, no, you should be able to build in 6 months. I'm talking about building muscle and losing fat. That shit is not taking 6 months. Unless you already built muscle, you're not going to build your maximum amount of muscle in 6 months and lose the maximum amount of fat in 6 months. You have to spend years building muscle, build up that base, especially as a natural, and then cut down the fat, right, if you gain some fat during your main gain process. This video is not for you if you're not willing to commit to a plan for at least 6 months, because that is the bare minimum, right? That's how long it takes you to shift your mindset as well, to start to be like, okay, well, I did pretty good for these 6 months. Let me add on another 6 months. Let me add on another year. Let me keep going, open-ended, right? But you got to give yourself at least that time, because a lot of times people can't even give themselves 6 weeks. It's usually like, man, if I don't look like this in 2 weeks, I'm done. I see that shit all the time. If you're full of excuses and you do fad diets are not going to get you long-term results, obviously. I know a lot of you guys still believe in the, 24-hour fast, a bunch of goofy shit like that. If it's not for spiritual reasons, you shouldn't be doing it for physique reasons. You're not going to look more aesthetic doing a 24-hour fast. You're just going to lose muscle and feel like shit, all right? Simple, simple, simple. Now, what does aesthetic actually mean? Excuse the blurry picture, but this is Brad Pitt in Fight Club, right? You want to be between 7 to 12% body fat, well proportioned, obviously, not just huge and fucking bulky. Like a lot of you guys, you just want to get huge and bulky, or you're getting huge and bulky, and you're like, I don't know why I don't feel aesthetic, or women actually don't like guys who are in shape. It's like your waist is like 38. You have wide shoulders, but your waist is 38. That's the issue. You see what I'm saying? Like, in order to have this physique, you have to be lean. A lot of you guys want to look like Brad Pitt in Troy. You want to look like him in Fight Club. You might want to look like Henry Cavill in Immortals. Maybe even Henry Cavill in Superman, right? You're going to have to get lean. You're going to have to shed fat, right? And build muscle over time, of course. Now, why it matters. First of all, the average guy, this is why a lot of people say this is the easiest time in the world to like separate yourself as a guy. It really is, because even after this video, even after these tips, most people will still be looking more like this than looking like me. Let's just keep it a buck, all right? Most people are still fat and out of shape, because when it comes down to it, when 8 p.m. hits, they just have to have their Ben & Jerry's, man. They need to order that DoorDash. That's what they're doing, all right? Most men are unfit, uninspired, all right? They have no direction in life. Comfort culture makes them even weaker, right? Weakness is normal. Comfort eating is normal. Door dashing is normal. Conversations about, oh, the latest meal at Popeyes, that's normal. All right, fast food, screens, excuses, all that shit. You can go to any of my shorts or any of my videos. Just look under the video, dumbasses making excuses, and that's why they're fat as shit with no profile picture. This shit's stupid as hell. They're like, no, look, you don't understand my situation. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, if you have time, stop eating. All right. If you don't have time, how can you eat so much? Just dumb things like that. Or look, no, I can't hit the gym. I can't hit the gym. And they work 40 hours a week. There's 168 hours in a week, bro. So you have 128 hours to sleep, eat, and work out. No excuses, all right? And people have no pride in their physical standard, all right? They're generally judging others. They're generally playing video games all the time with a shredded avatar, right? They're usually picking like the most shredded avatar. They're like, oh, this is who I want to be, right? And they're stuck in the game, but they're not looking in the mirror at themselves. All right. And mediocrity, it is celebrated. Like I said, it's more normal to have a conversation about what kind of foods you ate when you visit somewhere than how was the culture, or how are the gyms or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like if I talk to my friends, they'll be like, hey man, how was the gyms in Thailand? Blah blah blah. If I talk to someone who's out of shape, they're gonna be like, how's the food? How's the food over there? The food good? Goofy shit. All right, now female attraction and physique. I know all of us growing up saw Conor Murphy. We saw all those dudes making those videos and stuff like that. And we're like, no way that's real. I used to think this was fake. I was like, there's no way that's real. And then I got in shape and I started to see it for myself. All right, women are going to prefer the V-taper over pure size physique. All right, I remember, and I'll tell a couple of stories in Patreon about like the picking up chicks in the gym and shit like that. But I remember I was in the gym and there was hella dudes in there that were like bigger than me. But the chicks was you feel me? They were staring at me and they were like following me around and shit. Shit happens all the time. Broad shoulders is a protection cue, but your shoulders are gonna look more broad when your waist is smaller. If your waist is 38, I mean, Jesus Christ, your shoulders would have to be absolutely massive. You'd have to be on steroids to look lean. You know what I mean? Narrow waist, low body fat is gonna equal health, vitality, obviously. Visible muscle, testosterone, and vitalities. It's subconscious, all right? All this shit is subconscious. So I know a lot of you guys want to change it. A lot of you guys are like, it's not fair, it's not fair. This is just life, bro. This is literally just life. I'm just telling you basic shit. All right, the V-taper physique. Now, Alex Eubank, when he was natty, was the peak of aesthetics, all right? I don't want to hear anything else. He was the peak of aesthetics. Now, the ideal visual ratio is 1.6 to 1 shoulders to waist, right? I know a lot of people ask me, they're like, wait, what's yours? What's yours? Nigga, you can see that shit clearly in anything that I wear, and people come up to me and ask me questions. I don't really care. I'm just the leanest version of myself, and I see the V-taper all the time. It looks crazy. I don't even need to check. I'm definitely 1.6 to 1. Maybe I'm 1.7, maybe I'm 1.8. I don't know, but I know I'm 1.6 at least. Right? Obviously, working your lats and delts are going to widen the top half, but you also want to get lean enough to have a smaller waist, because he's like 7-8% body fat, right? This is natural though. So it's not as much muscle mass as, the bodybuilders who are like 7%. If a bodybuilder who's on roids, like if C-Bum is 12% body fat, you're going to see much more muscle definition because he has way more muscle mass, obviously. Right here, I think Alex Eubanks is like 5'10", 5'9", and he's probably 170, 168 here, right? But anyways, reducing your body fat is going to shrink the waist, right? Because people will ask questions like, how do you make your waist smaller? Stop fucking eating so much food, all right? Your body fat percentage is 40 or 30 or 20 or 18. That's why your waist isn't small, all right? It's not that deep. Now, your training priorities, all right? So obviously, you want to do shoulders, front, side, rear delts. Mostly side and rear delts, to be honest. Back, your lats and upper back. Listen, like I said, I used to row. I used to barbell row. I was barbell rolling 315. I was deadlifting 640, 650, and my back looked like shit. You could even fucking see my lats. So I started to really prioritize the lats and upper back. Chest, upper chest, pretty much all I hit is upper chest. Even though I'm lower chest dominant, all I hit is upper chest. Arms for shape and symmetry, mostly triceps because they take up 2/3 of your arm. And then legs for testosterone, obviously. You burn hella calories, and the best core exercise is squats. I don't care what nobody says. I know people are going to say hanging leg raise, all that goofy shit. Squats, goblet, barbell, they're so great for your core, bro. Like if you heavy squat, if you like max out on squats, or you have a day where you do like a superset with goblet squats, you're gonna feel your abs the next day. All right, now lower body movements, obviously squats or hack squats for your quads, Romanian deadlifts. These are all compound movements. Walking lunges, calf raises, because your legs, right, working legs is gonna boost your hormone production. And obviously, it's going to make you look more aesthetic because you're going to have, higher testosterone, obviously, right? Now, there's variations to all of this stuff. Obviously, you got barbell squats, you got dumbbell squats, you got goblet squats, you got hack squats, you got pendulum squats, all of those. All right, deadlifts, you got Smith machine, you got dumbbell, you got kettlebell, there's actual machines where you can do deadlifts. So it's kind of fucking cool. All right, now, for the upper body, obviously prioritize upper chest, but you want to make sure you are prioritizing your rear delts as well, doing some rear delt flies. Every time I put flies, it says flyers. It just goes to flyers it does it automatically. It pisses me off. Side raises, you're going to want to spam those. Those will make your shoulders look way bigger. All right, like my waist started looking smaller, my shoulders started looking bigger when I did hella side raises, to be honest. Incline dumbbell, back, lat pull downs and pull ups. I know you guys are always asking, oh my gosh, what do you do for back? It's literally just you do the basics over and over again. You're building the muscles. All right, simple, simple, simple. Now, your training frequency is going to depend on, how long you've been lifting, but 4 to 6 days is usually where you want to be at. It's usually a good area to be in. You can do push-pull legs, you can do bro split, you can do upper lower. As long as you're consistent, you will get the results. All right? As long as you're consistent, you will get the result. Some people on TikTok and stuff were like, "Oh my god, like the reason you're not getting results is because you're not doing upper lower." It's like, no, that doesn't make any fucking sense. All right, you can do upper lower push pull legs, or you can do bro split, like I said. Because if you do upper lower and you're hitting, you're doing that 6 days a week, or working out 6 days in an 8-day split or something like that, you're just going to do lower volume than someone who's doing bro split because they're only hitting everything once, or lower volume per day, but that volume at the end of the week is going to be similar anyways. All right, consistency is more important. It just is. Now, intensity is important as well, but consistency is way more important. Like, people will be super intense for like 7 days, and then boom, they're done for the year. They'll be intense for 3 weeks, boom, they're done for the year. I'm talking about if you're trying to build a steady physique, not if you're trying to compete on stage. This is not bodybuilding. This is not CrossFit. This is not power lifting. None of those things. This is not, specifically training for a sport. This is just for aesthetics and health. All right. So consistency is going to be more important. Now, all right, so nutrition, the non-negotiable, guys. You need to be in a calorie deficit to cut fat. I don't care if you're going out on a date. Look, I still kept the shit lean. We got some steak. We got some unsalted, unfried fries. They're baked. All right, very, very simple. And guess what? Potatoes and steak is going to keep you in shape. High protein for muscle retention is going to be super, super important. Like I said, you guys always try to negotiate with non-negotiables. So someone will say, "Hey, man, you got to be in a calorie deficit. Hey, you got to be in a calorie deficit." Anytime I've seen a client struggle to get results, they're trying to negotiate with the non-negotiables, lifting weights and eating in a deficit. They're like, "Nah, but like the deficit though." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to eat in a deficit if you don't want results. But if you want fucking results, you got to eat in a deficit, obviously." All right. Fats for hormones, obviously. Supplements optional. Not really required. As long as you're locked in on your nutrition, you could throw in some supplements for like sleep and other stuff like that if you're not getting, multivitamins, vitamin D, stuff like that. If you're not getting enough in your diet. Protein intake, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound lean body mass. It's more realistic. You have more variety when it's per pound lean body mass, and you're going to be able to do it 365 days a year. All right. The one gram of protein per pound body weight, since everyone's fat as shit these days, that's a little bit unrealistic because most people are like 250 to 300 or 350. A lot of people are, let's say 200 to like 350, but like 20+% body fat. So their muscle mass is really closer to like 150, 140, right? A lot of people, they're over 200. They're like, "Yeah, I'm over 200. I feel great. I'm big. I'm swole." And they're like 40% body fat, which means they have like 140 pounds of muscle mass, which is way less than me, even though I weigh 185. You see what I'm saying? So you want to do a per pound lean body mass because that's going to be more realistic and way easier to sustain long term, right? So you won't be stressing about it every single day trying to get 300 grams of protein, right? You're going to be farting like crazy. So yeah, lean meats, fish, eggs, whey, Greek yogurt. You can even do protein supplements. Very, very, very simple. And it's going to preserve muscle during your fat loss phase, which is essential for aesthetics. Now, fat loss in general equals aesthetics. Now, I know what I said earlier about you need to build muscle and then lose fat. The thing is, especially in America, you go to the gym and everyone's like 250. It doesn't matter the height. Everyone's usually like, the guys are usually between 5'8" to 6'4", and everyone's usually like, let's just say 220 for like the 5'8" guys, 220 to like 350. That's usually the weight of people. So they're lifting heavy. They've been in a calorie surplus for like 20 years. So generally, since they built at least a little bit of muscle, right, a decent amount of muscle at least, fat loss for them is going to equal aesthetics. Right? They need to lose fat. You need to reduce your body fat percentage. That's where aesthetics come in. A lot of people think is, okay, let me just do side raises and run on the treadmill. What is your body fat percentage when you started versus when it ends, right? So if you want to know your initial body fat percentage, go get it tested, DEXA or InBody. I know people say it's not accurate. It is pretty damn accurate, and it's going to give you a good gauge, and it's a good marker and a good tracker of your progress. All right, I don't know why people say it's not accurate. It's fucking accurate. Anyways, and the people who say it's not accurate is usually like 20% body fat or some shit. You could use calipers if you have like an old head trainer in your gym, but just use InBody under the same conditions or use DEXA under the same conditions. All right. Now, you can't out-train a bad diet like I always say. 12 to 16%, you'll look pretty decent. You'll be on body game and shit like that. But that 7 to 12% is when you'll start to get people asking you questions and staring at you like, what the fuck? And dudes, girlfriends are going to start looking at you and shit, and they're going to try to make guard. It's that 7 to 12% range, to be honest. All right. Now, like I said earlier, the scale weight is not the main goal. So a lot of you guys over 200, that's like, no, I can't be victim weight. You're fat as shit. All right. The identity shift that you need. So you want to stop trying to get in shape and be like, oh my God, like I really just want to get in shape, and realize that like being lean is just your identity. All right. So it's like, okay, what are you going to eat when you're at a restaurant? You're going to eat the leanest option. All right. What are you eating next week? It's going to be planned out because you prioritize what you consume. You prioritize your workouts. All right. If you're going on vacation, You're going to pre-look ahead and be like, okay, they got a Chili's here. Okay, they got an Outback here. I'll probably get this at Outback, right? Just to make sure you hit your protein, nothing crazy. Or if you're going on vacation for a couple of days or anniversary or something like that, you'll be like, okay, let me just make these 2 days a refeed day or whatever and be in a deficit these 5 days, right? You're always going to be thinking, lean, which means you're always going to be aware of how much you're consuming and how much activity you're getting and the weight you're lifting, your weight, your waist size, and your body fat percentage. You'll be more aware of these things when you're the leanest version of yourself. All right. The reason people aren't lean is because they're ignoring these things. They're ignoring their waist size, they're ignoring their body fat percentage, and they're ignoring what they consume on a daily basis. They don't know how much they're eating on a daily basis. Right. They've never tracked before. All right. And fitness in general is not a phase, it's identity. So when you're the fittest version of yourself, that means, like I said earlier, you prioritize that shit. All right, which means you're not binging every weekend and every holiday. If you eat whatever you want to every weekend and every holiday, that's damn near 40% of your year. You're not getting lean like that, you'll probably be fat. All right. Discipline will become automatic because your habits will be instilled, and your body is always going to be a reflection of your habits, your beliefs, right? So when you're the fittest version of yourself, you're going to look like the fittest version of yourself. You can't think like the leanest version of yourself consistently and be obese. It's just not happening. All right. A lot of people saying obesity is genetics. If I follow you around for 7 days, I'll probably throw up because you eat so much fucking food. All right. Consistency, psychology. So one of the things that's going to help you build muscle and lose fat while maintaining muscle and get aesthetic is going to be consistency. All right. It's the most important thing. You can't get lean in the fat loss phase if you're not consistent. It's just not possible. You eat good for 5 days, you overeat for 2 days, guess what? You're back to square one every single time. And that's what people do for 6 months, and they're like, yo, I've been in the diet for 6 months, I ain't lost nothing. It's like you haven't successfully been in a deficit for 6 months. You've been literally basically at maintenance, right? Wasting your time. And yeah, a lot of you guys think about motivation, have that word in your vocabulary. I don't use this word because it has nothing to do with what you do on a daily basis. It just doesn't. Like, your identity is way more important. If you're motivated to hit the gym, but you still identify as, the goofy version of yourself, the not serious version of yourself, not the leanest version of yourself, then eventually you're going to go back when you run out of motivation to your old habits. But when you identify as the leanest version of yourself, no matter how motivated or not motivated you are, guess what? You're still going to hit the gym. Like, I can't remember the last time I thought, like, am I motivated? It was probably 4 years ago when I thought, I was like, and I remember that moment, right? I was locked in, getting to that next level of lean, probably like around 11% body fat, just getting to that next level of lean. And I was like, am I motivated today? I was like, fuck no, I'm not motivated today. I'm still going to hit the gym, fuck it. And that was like one of the last times, I had an okay session, but then I ended up being, getting leaner and leaner and leaner. And that was one of the last times I was like, there's no reason to check whether or not I'm motivated to go to the gym. Like, just get the shit. It's just part of your day, right? Like, when you're fat as shit, part of your day, whether you want to eat chips or not, you're clearly going to eat in a surplus, and you're going to eat chips, and you're going to eat, Ben and Jerry's, because you made it a habit, because it's part of your identity. All right, simple. Because a lot of people will say stuff like, hey man, like, how do you stay consistent? How do you eat lean every day and go to the gym? I'm like, how do you stay consistent? How do you skip the gym every day and binge eat every day? You know what I mean? Whether you feel like it or not, because you've made it a habit and it's part of your identity. That's the reality of it, like real shit. All right. Meal prep is going to beat your willpower, but also knowing exactly what you're going to consume is going to beat your willpower. Now, if you have something easy you can make, like ground turkey, you can just make a bunch, throw it in the fridge or whatever. Very, very simple shit. All right, so gym etiquette that builds confidence, right? You're going to wear simple but fitted clothing. Obviously, I'm not going to lie. When you look lean, when your abs are popping, it really doesn't matter what you wear. Like, it doesn't matter what you wear, all right? You fucking wear you can get a Temu shirt like this. People are going to think it's Young LA, all right? Very, very, very simple. Get your noise canceling headphones on so you could really lock in, all right? Noise canceling headphones on so you can lock the fuck in, all right? Stop comparing yourself to others. You need to compare yourself to your former self, because that's who you're competing against, your former self. You guys compare yourself to, on day one of thinking about fitness and attempting to eat healthy, you will literally compare yourself to C-Bum after like 20 years of lifting and like 20 different compounds that he's taking. You see what I'm saying? Make sure you're logging your lifts as well, all right? Now, tracking your progress correctly, right? A lot of you guys focus only on the scale weight. I've been at 190 like 3 different times in my journey, and they look different every single time, right? As time went on, it started looking leaner and leaner and leaner because I was building more muscle mass, and I was getting there at a lower body fat percentage. So the first time I was bulking, I got up to 190. I was probably closer to 18-ish% body fat, somewhere around that range. Versus the last time I was there, 193, I got my in-body done. It was like 10.4, some shit like that. So it's a lot of muscle built, throughout the time, all right? Now, your strength and your compound lifts is going to matter as well. That's what you're trying to pay attention to. When you are in a deficit, your relative strength should increase. However, you might lose a little bit of strength on your compound lifts. But since you're losing fat anyways and your weight overall is less, then you're going to move less mass. So, for example, if you started your cut at like I started my cut at 226, right? If I flat benched, which I wasn't flat benching, but if I flat benched at 226, I'll probably hit 405, right? By the time I got down to 185, I could probably only hit like 365. But hitting 365 at 185 is, at the body fat percentage I was at as well, or I'm at as well, that's actually stronger than hitting 405 at 226. Simple. All right. Your waist measurement, you want that going down as well. So if the weight stays the same, but the waist goes down, that means you're building muscle. That's a good sign because you're losing fat as well. Clothing, fitting, your arms. Are you losing fat in your arms, your face, all that stuff, your energy and confidence, all that shit is important. All right. Now, the social effect when you become aesthetic. So people will literally treat you completely differently. I've made a lot of videos on this, but it's going to be completely different. Like people are just going to respect you because when you have aesthetic physique, you've really made something, artistic. Like you've sculpted yourself, right? You didn't take the easy way out in a lot of scenarios, and you're going to stand out from other people. It's like if you're in a super country area where, everyone has like rundown trucks and you have a fucking Hellcat driving around. People are going to be like, yo, what the fuck is that? That looks different. That shit looks clean. You know what I mean? Like that's how your physique is when you walk into a Walmart and everyone's getting Cheeto Puffs and you have, ground beef and you look leaner than everybody and you have a V-taper. They're like, wow, he's really built that, right? Women are going to notice discipline, but they're also going to be attracted to your ambition, your aura, and your physique, obviously, right? Men are going to respect effort. Maybe not keyboard warriors, right? Keyboard warriors, they don't really respect effort because they don't put it in themselves, but, real men and men that are on their grind, they're going to respect it for sure, all right? Now, this is a commitment, all right? This is a commitment. Now, the thing is, when you commit to this lifestyle, you are going to get out what you put in, all right? It's not like marriage. Marriage, you might put in everything and you still get fucking divorced, right? But this lifestyle, if you are the leanest version of yourself every single day, you put in work every single day, guess what? You're going to look lean and you're going to look like the best version of yourself, all right? So, building muscle, right? It's going to take 12 months to build your first 20 to 25 pounds of muscle realistically. If you lock in for 3 years and do like a main gain, right, starting off skinny, if you do a main gain for like 3 years, you're going to gain like 40, 50 pounds of muscle, especially as a beginner. I know people are like, no, you're not, that's steroids. No. That's literally what happens with consistency, all right, and intention. And then you cut your body fat. If you main gain correctly, it should take 4 to 6 months realistically. Anyone who's over 20% body fat might take longer than 4 months, obviously. And then if you're like 30% body fat, you got a fat ass journey ahead of you. And then you just maintain the shape year round. It's really not that difficult. The reason people can't maintain shape year round is because they think about things as getting fat cycles and then getting lean. That's how they think of shit instead of just always being lean. It's really not that fucking hard. Now, Patreon is in the description. In the Patreon, it's going to be how to improve your credit, obviously. Growing social media is going to be growing social media, going from 0 to 10K as an online coach, and online game. Those are going to be the main 3 pillars. I will include information about moving to Thailand because I literally know everything about it since I've done it and I lived there for a year. I'm going to include some Thailand, game shit in there as well because it's not what people say. I don't know why people be lying and shit, but yeah. And if you're fat as shit and you're ready to lock in, link is in the description as well for one-on-one coaching. Stay blessed.